Welcome friends to another r/EntitledParents video. If you want to join the fight against entitled parents, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. That said, our first story of the day is by Coca-Cola. My mom doesn't want my dad to go to jail for stealing from me. My dad stole money off my debit card, and I found out that he's been receiving food stamps in my name. I also wanted to find out if he'd been getting anything else in my name, and because some people on Reddit suggested it in the comments, I wanted to make sure he didn't try to get money from me on his taxes. I was talking to my mom about everything, and it seemed like she kept trying to make excuses for my dad. Like, well, maybe he felt like you owed him. And I would never have my dad locked up no matter what happened. She said that it took her years to call the police on my dad, even though he used to hurt her. I got upset and ended the conversation. My aunt had said she was most concerned with my dad using my social security number to get credit or other things in my name, because my dad gets a disability check, and I guess people on disability aren't supposed to be able to file taxes or claim people on their taxes. But my mom called my aunt and told her that she and my dad had been taking turns claiming me on their taxes for years. She said she claimed me last year, so she was pretty sure my dad had claimed me this year. She said my dad could go to prison over this, and she didn't want him to go to prison for claiming his child on his taxes. My mom told me that what my dad did with the food stamps was wrong, but that I left my dad's house without giving him anything, so maybe this was just his way of trying to get something for letting me stay in his house. She said that I'd been rebelling against her by not even trying to go to church and search within my soul to see if I'm really gay or not. She said even if I am really gay, then how could it hurt to repent and go to church and try to be straight for her? She said she actually talked to my dad, and he told her that I'd been rebellious and disrespectful to him, and that's why he kept getting in my face and screaming at me and insulting me. She said that my dad had never been like that with me before, and I need to think about what I did to contribute to that and take responsibility for my part in everything. And I needed to think about how my dad felt, knowing that his little girl was not the person he thought she was. She said my dad was almost in tears when they talked, and he's just as hurt as me and feels bad about the food stamps and taking money off my card. And that my dad's a really good person deep down, and if he didn't have a temper, she would still be with him. The only thing he ever did wrong when they were together was hit her, and that he was never and would never hit me or my brother or my sister. Then she said that if I didn't press charges against my dad, that she and my dad would pay me when they received their income tax refunds. She said if my issue is that he stole from me, then him paying me back should settle everything. And if I want him to go to jail, then I'm just being vengeful. And I need to think about what it'll do to my sister and brother if their dad's in prison. She said I need to think about if it's worth it to hurt my brother and sister just to hurt my dad. I cried while I was talking to my mom. I cried for a long time afterwards. I found out a lot, but especially two things. One is that even though my mom talked so much crap about my dad when they split up, it seems like my mom still loves my dad. Even after she knew that he'd been yelling at me, scaring me, had threatened me and stolen from me, apparently she still talked to him and she sympathized with him. My mom would not let me live with her because I'm gay, but if she thought my dad would never hit her again, she would be with him. The other thing I know now is that my mom cares about my dad a lot more than she cares about me. It's weird because up until now that probably wouldn't have bothered me, but I didn't expect her to have more sympathy for my dad than me after knowing that my dad had threatened me and stolen from me. I can't imagine never having anything to do with my mom again, but right now I don't want anything to do with her. I don't know if that's fair or rational, but that's how I feel. I don't know what to do. I think my dad should go to jail for what he did, but I don't want to hurt my brother and sister, and I know they would be hurt if my dad went to jail. And it would hurt more knowing that I'm the one who put him in jail. And my aunt pointed out that I worked most of my last year so I could file taxes myself unless my dad did claim me this year. My mom said they would pay me, but for one thing, how can I trust that? And I don't know if I want money they're trying to give me just because my dad doesn't want to get in trouble for wronging me. The other thing is I already contacted the police about him stealing the money off my card, and he's already being investigated for receiving food stamps in my name. My mom doesn't think he's going to jail for that, but I lived with my dad for around a month as an adult. That was the first time I've lived with him since him and my mom were together when I was a kid. And he was getting food stamps in my name like he was me. So I don't know if my mom knows something I don't, but I think he's going to be in a lot of trouble for that. And I found out about that accidentally, so it's not like I woke up one day with a vendetta against my dad. And what if my dad tries to steal from my brother and sister like this? What if I'm protecting them? Am I wrong for wanting my dad to go to jail? Should I let everything go since my mom said she and my dad will pay me back? I'm not going to have anything to do with my dad no matter what, but should I keep trying to work on my relationship with my mom? I did finally let my aunt know how bad I think I need a therapist, and she said we'll definitely make sure that happens, so that's a good thing. Am I wrong? Am I a bad person in this situation? What should I do? So, in your guys' opinions, considering everything that's laid out here, should OP go ahead and turn everything over to law enforcement? Should they feel guilty about doing that? Is the relationship with the mom worth rebuilding in your guys' opinions? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Gene the God. Tattoos? Why would you do that to yourself? Was at work today and was doing my normal thing. I work at a dessert place where most of my coworkers and myself are college students and hourly isn't as good, so I try to be polite as I can to earn tips for my coworker and I. A lady comes in with her child and I do my usual thing. I say, "Hey, how are you?" The child excitedly orders some ice cream. The entitled parent looks at me up and down and pulls her child away from the point of sale. She says, "Please don't talk to my child," looks at her child and says, "These are people you should avoid. Don't be like him." Then says, "God, why would you do that to yourself? You look dirty." I have a forearm sleeve on both arms, a Japanese dragon to remember my dad who passed 4 years ago when I was 14, and Japanese clouds on my other arm as a reminder for my mental health to be free and open-minded. I carefully explained to her that these tattoos are to tell a story and doesn't make me a bad person. I said this also to mainly reassure the child I wasn't a bad person. The entitled parent said, "I didn't come for your life story, I came for ice cream. Now can I order?" I say, "Then I don't understand why your input was needed in the first place. It's part of my culture, and if you can't respect something you don't understand, then I suggest you go somewhere else because I won't serve you." The entitled parent then begins to throw racial slurs until the family behind her starts arguing with her and defends me. I wasn't exactly too sure what was being said, as I just got my manager to help sort the situation out. The kid did start crying because his mom was being yelled at by a whole family. Another customer said, "Holy crap, can you shut your kid up?" Manager and I both realized the kid doesn't need to go through all of that. From here, my manager kicks the lady out, and that was the end of it. The family that stayed behind did tip me $20, which was pretty nice. There's much more to someone's story that can be told rather than just from their physical appearance. Like OP was saying, for them it's a cultural thing, and I would assume that most tattoos people get are to tell some kind of story, whether that's part of a cultural thing or just a personal choice. Having tattoos isn't some inherently dirty thing or something, and thankfully as time's gone on, I think people have gotten a lot more lenient about just being more accepting of people with tattoos. Our next story is by When the Stars Line. I'm 15 and working, and I want to know how much money there is in my bank account, but my mom won't allow me to know the password to my bank app login. So I'm 15 and I've been working at a store recently. Whenever I have to buy something, I have to go all the way to the ATM machine just to check how much money I have left in my account. This is highly annoying because it consumes my time and all that. So I asked my mom how I can log into my bank account, but she won't allow me to know the password while it's literally my money. She told me she would just say how much money I made, but I don't trust her because she always takes my money. Her reason is because I would buy things. It's literally money it's freaking meant to be paid with. I'm so freaking annoyed. I'm almost 16 and she still pretends I'm a 5-year-old kid. Whenever I'm hungry, I have to ask if I can eat. I don't know what to do. Could you help me? How can I log in even if she won't let me know the password? Thankfully, from what I could see, it seems like OP's going to try to get help with their stepdad, who seems to be supporting OP throughout this, but honestly, this is just disappointing to see, and it makes you kind of suspicious of what really is going on here. You would really hope not, but it feels like maybe the mom's mooching off of that money, maybe not taking all of it, but why wouldn't they just let you see how much money there is if there wasn't something fishy going on? Our next story is by the Inky Boy. I swear I was so close to yelling. Basically, we have a little pie shop near home, and they sell these amazing chocolate custard donuts that I'll eat a dozen of in one sitting, and me and my mom, were passing and decided to get a few. They have a 4-customer rule, so only 4 customers can be inside at a time. So the cast is me, Mom, Annie, the woman at the till, Lynn, the entitled parent, and Demon Spawn, her child. So we went in and were having a quick look at the pies and cakes to see if there was anything new in stock, and decided just to get some donuts as Lynn walked in with her child. The Demon Spawn immediately touched everything and was yelling about chalky donut. Now, I never worked long in retail, but I worked in pubs and can read when a customer is that kind. Now, one important thing about me is that I hate physical contact from strangers. So when Demon Spawn tried to push my leg to move me, I twitched, involuntary neck movement that hurts and occasionally makes an audible crack, which scared the Spawn, who ran back to Lynn and immediately started saying stuff like, "It's okay, it's just an R word," which sealed her fate. I looked at Annie and went, "Can I please have those 4 chocolate custard donuts?" I think Annie immediately caught on because she smiled and gave me a nod, packed them up and said, "You're lucky, those were the last 4 in stock until tomorrow," with a wink and gave me the price. I heard silence from Lynn and felt a glare, so I just smiled, thanked Annie, and we left to the Demon Spawn starting up a tantrum. Just gonna say, pettiness tastes really good when it's got a chocolate filling. For those wondering, when we first moved here I got lost in town and had to ask for help, and Annie was the one who I asked. I was on the verge of a panic attack, and she sat with me and helped me calm down and walked with me somewhere familiar. The first time I went to the pie shop with my mom, she looked at me and went, "Oh, I know you, you're Coda, right?" And we had a small talk where she ended up suggesting pies and cakes. I don't think I can really blame OP on this one. Anytime you're in a store and some parent has an unruly kid that they don't keep in check, I think it's pretty common to be pretty annoyed, especially if they're allowing those kids to break boundaries that they shouldn't be breaking. Going around touching strangers, no thank you. Enjoy those chocolate donuts. And our final story of the day is by HB Titan. Sibling, entitled parent, won't clean up after their kids. Grossness ensues. I, 24-year-old female, live with my parents due to the high cost of living alone, and the fact that I struggle with living with people I don't know, or people who I'm unused to. I'm doing higher education at the moment, which also makes living alone difficult. I have an older sibling who's married with 2 kids, all under 5. They visit every now and again, which my parents love, but I always get super anxious and dread them coming. I'll be as courteous and understanding as I can, as I know I can be a bit obsessive over things like cleanliness and privacy. I have issues with mental illness and autism, and I think I might be mildly germophobic. I will clean all over and make sure that everything is nice for their visit, as I think hospitality is important. And taking my time to make everything nice is a sign of care. My parents aren't too fussed about cleaning, but they tidy at least. However, when my sibling and their family comes over, they couldn't give a crap. They leave dirty diapers on the floor of the bathroom, their oldest kid leaves toys everywhere, they have no sense of personal space or respecting that I don't like people just taking things or using things that I own without permission, and they do not flush the toilet after using it, even for a number 2. I just found discarded toilet paper with brown stains, guess what it is, down the side of the toilet, not in the toilet. And guess what? It wasn't even one of the kids who did that. Here's what makes me really mad though. I've talked to them and my parents about it. I try to be kind and just say, "Hey, could you clean this enter gross crap here up please? Thanks." And leave it at that. What does my sibling do? They apologize with no sincerity and do nothing about it. They almost act annoyed or insulted that I brought it up because taking care of kids is hard. Yeah, no crap, but guess what? It isn't my fault that you had kids. It isn't my job to clean up after them, and sometimes you're worse than the kids. My parents are sometimes worse. I talked to my mom, and all she had to say is that, "Their family, you need to get over it. It's hard with kids to keep cleaning. We love them, right? So leave it alone." Or, "We need to be respectful and understanding. Patience is a virtue." If I did any of this BS they did at their own house, I would get my butt beat. I would no longer be living. Not gonna lie, it hurts to see the favoritism in play. I shouldn't have to have anxiety going to the bathroom because I'm afraid of what I'm going to find and subsequently have to clean up. And I shouldn't have to worry about where your kid's naked butt's been sitting because you let them run around without diapers or change them on the couch and dining table. Ew. You're a grown adult. You shouldn't be leaving poop-covered toilet paper on the floor, or diapers, or using my stuff to clean you or your kids because you couldn't be bothered to go to the store or bring your own toiletries. Don't use my loofah, don't use my razors, don't use my hairbrush. Y'all know lice and kids are a match made in heaven. And clean your crap up. This isn't your house. It's not a trash can. It's my home. Thing is, I don't think it's that much to ask to have the bare minimum respect in another's home and not do any of the things mentioned above. Am I wrong? And as for my parents, suffice to say I'm kind of used to the preferential treatment, but darn, at least try to see it from my point of view. Maybe you should clean the bathroom next time. I know it's definitely not a situation where you can just ignore it every time, because if you gotta go, you gotta go, but I would say the best course of action for OP is try to leave as much of the mess laying around as possible, and hopefully your parents come to realize this is a huge mess. I bet they'd come beg you to clean it up afterwards too. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.